Hey folks, CB3 here with another live update. Today is Monday, April 14th. The last 2 weeks have been treacherous for equities. What's it going to look like the week ahead? We've got some news for you here. We want to bring you up to date. Stay with us. CB3 Live Update begins now. As we begin this morning, I just want to say we're dividing this into last week's segment and then the look ahead to this week's segment. So in our monthly show last Thursday night, I told you what had been happening the last 10 days, the most volatile on record in the U.S. stock market. It's hard to believe, but it is true. All the data is there. Go back and watch the Thursday show and you'll see. So there's only been one trading day, that's last Friday, since that previous broadcast. We did have an up day on Friday and I found it encouraging. We added stocks in CG and GI, reduced the bond holdings in GI. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute or so. But basically, I'm seeing an easing of volatility. The VIX dropped from a 49 to a 37. Still, to close the week at a 37 VIX is crazy high. But for the most part, it's a relief from a 49 that we were seeing during the week. So last Wednesday, we saw an unprecedented surge after President Trump announced a temporary 90-day pause on all tariffs except for China. The S&P soared 9.5%, its best single performance day since 2008. The Nasdaq jumped 12.2% and the Dow nearly 3,000 points. However, the optimism was short-lived. On Thursday, the White House clarified that tariffs on Chinese imports would rise to an effective rate of 145%. Rather than the 125. And then, of course, the next hour or so, China countered back with their 125 tariffs. So we finished the week with these two countries in a full-on trade war and no interest from the Chinese to sit down and talk about this. As I said on my Thursday night show, we in America have the upper hand in these negotiations by far. We are a much bigger economy. We have a much greater GDP per person production rate in the U.S., like 88,000 or 90,000, somewhere in that range per person versus 13,500 for China. So they really are not in a position to have this bravado that they have. So it'll be interesting to see how President Trump handles this in the week ahead. Some economic data we got that I liked was the annual inflation rate slowed to 2.5 in March, down from February's 2.8. So 0.3% is a big number, especially when you're talking about small numbers like 2.8 and 2.5. So I like seeing that 0.3% drop. I think that's healthy. I think that might encourage the Fed that they're going to be able to keep their rate cut, even if it's only 25 basis points, on tap for May. So looking ahead, not too much news today, a little bit on Tuesday, but retail sales on Wednesday, housing market data on Thursday, initial jobless claims, and then the Fed speeches will be throughout the week. And everyone looks for a slip of the tongue from the Fed if they're going to let loose as to what their impending policy might be. There's always a scouring of the scripts after those speeches have occurred by the media and by the pundits to see if anyone can determine what they think the Fed move is going to be later this year. Tariff developments are going to continue to be in the news and drive everything about the markets. It's just not going to change on that. The inflation trajectory is positive, and that's a good thing. Overall, corporate earnings are getting back on track. On my Thursday show, I said they were looking weak, but we got an update Saturday, and it looks like we're coming back to that 73% annual average for earnings reports, and that's a good thing. So before I sign off, let me just remind you, CG invested now with 24 stocks at 3%. That's 72% in the market, 28% in cash. GI, 100% invested, but that's only 16 stocks or 48%, 52% in cash and fixed income. Both programs are invested more conservatively because I believe the market sell-off has not confirmed that it is over, and I'm protecting your capital. That's what you pay me to do. So that's it. We have a short trading week ahead. Good Friday. The markets are closed, and we will then track what's happening the week after. Stay with us. CB3 Live Update will come back for another episode whenever we find an opportunity that we need to talk to you guys. Thanks so much. See you next time.